I don't want him to pitch 9, but I'm saying if you look at his whip and everything else, there's still tremendous numbers. Here's Joe Girardi.
Training complex, you probably read it already. And there was one guy running in the rain. They went to get his autograph, and that person was kind enough to do it, and you were that guy. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I hope someone one day reminds him that he's old. Was my first thought. I mean, I'm glad I did it. I just hope he returns the favor tonight. It's nice to me.
We'll start, Philip.
Joe, is there anything that Aaron can do to adjust to the low strikes that are being called on him in this series?
Well,
and generally.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of what's going to happen to him because he's so tall. I mean, that's part of what he is. And he works on hitting the low pitch. And he'll continue to get better as time goes on. But, I mean, I think there's some pitches that are called on him during this series that haven't necessarily been strikes. And, there's a big difference between 1-1 and 2-0 or, 2-1 and 1-2. I mean, there's a big difference in the way it changes in at bat. So, hopefully he'll start getting some that go his way and that they start making some mistakes up.
How do you work on them?
Well, they have drills. They have drills for everything.
In the fourth row, and you're right.
Joe, what is the energy like tonight heading into Game 3, especially after having that rest day yesterday for the guys?
Oh, I think the energy is probably really high. I think it would have been really high had we not had a rest day because we're coming home, too. And, I look at this series. We've lost 2 games, 2-1. There has not been a lot of offense on both sides. We've pitched really well. They've pitched extremely well. And, you're a hit away in each game or a play away in each game. So we know how tight the games have been. And, hopefully we can get that turned around tonight.
Anthony in the second row.
Joe, just to follow up on Phil's question, have you seen umpires call the same strike zone, whether the batter is Judge or Altuve or Torres, or do they adjust it or they just go with their own version of it?
No, I think they adjust, but, I look at it this way. I think left-handers always have more strikes called on them than right-handers, for different reasons. But if you're an umpire that sees, 500 pitches a week, or whatever it is, because they usually almost get 200, week after week, year after year, in your mind, you're going to have an idea what's a strike and not a strike. And the bodies change. And the rare bodies are the Altuves and the Judges. So a lot of times they might get more or less strikes called on them because it's different. If I was to guess a guy like an Altuve or a Torres, they might get more high strikes called on than other hitters, because in their mind, an umpire sees a pitch, it's a quick reaction. I mean, think about how little time they have to make up their mind. And I'm not blaming them, I'm not faulting them, but I imagine I would be the same way as if I'm an umpire. It's in your mind, it triggered, that's a strike. And then the body type might be a little bit different, and it really isn't.
Meredith, to your right, Joe.
Joe, you mentioned the fact that you're coming home and playing here tonight. You have the best record in the American League at home this season. Why do you think the team responds so well playing here at Yankee Stadium? I
think our fans have a lot to do with that. I think the way some of our right-handed hitters are built for this ballpark has a lot to do with that. And I think sometimes, during the regular season, you can use your bullpen different at home than you can on the road. A lot of times. So I think that those 3 things change what we do at home and on the road. And our guys are comfortable. And we know the nooks and crannies of our field.
Ken, to your right, Joe.
Joe, we talk a lot in New York about the future of your team. When you see the Astros, what do you see as the future of their team? Do you see...
I think it's pretty darn good, because you look at the core of their players, they're pretty young, obviously. So, I mean, 2 teams with, I think, really bright futures, and I think you can throw a lot of other teams that have a good core of young players. And we've seen a lot of that in baseball lately.
Tara, to your right, Joe.
Joe, do you mind I've asked you about him before, but with Frazier in particular, just from your vantage point, how he's assimilated and enjoyed kind of being part of this and just what he brings maybe to you personally. I've read some of the things you said and just what he brings to your clubhouse.
He brings energy. He brings an excitement to play the game every day. He's always cheering for his teammates, in a way that you really feel that this guy believes in you and helps you get it done. He's a leader in the clubhouse, I think. He's got a ton of fight in him. And when you put those things together with his talent, I think it makes him a special player and a special guy. and a guy that you want to be around and a guy that you want to manage.
Bob, to your right, Joe.
Joe, I'm just following up on Meredith's question. In the last series, Terry Francona was saying that the old stadium was unique and that the fans were right on the opposing team, and it can be intimidating. Do you still feel that way about this ballpark? I mean, do the fans, you think, in any way influence the opponent's state of mind?
Oh, I think it can. I think they can. Absolutely. I mean, I think the fans, when you look at the 3 games that we've played at home, have been huge. The excitement, that first Minnesota game, when we got down 3-0, and how loud it got right away when Girardi got on base. I think that's a factor, and it's noise that you want to hear. We go to other places, it's noise that we don't want to hear a lot of times. So I think they do play a role.
To your left, Joe.
Joe, obviously it's not an elimination game, but going down 3-0, it's a tough way to come back. How do you manage this game? Is it like an elimination game in the sense that how are you going to use your bullpen knowing that you need this win?
I'm going to manage it very similar to the way I've been managed. I mean, I think I kind of managed that way in game 2. I brought my closer in a tie game in the 9th, because I wanted an opportunity to win that game, and I didn't really want to lose that game, and he didn't have a chance to pitch. So, yeah, I mean, I believe this is a really important game, so I'm going to do whatever I can.
In the 3rd row, Hunter.
Joe, Sonny Gray has not pitched so well at home this year. Or he's not. Let me explain. He's not pitched so well at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
Why is it that you align CC for today and then Sonny for tomorrow? Why is it that you have these guys in this arrangement and Sonny pitching at home?
Well, I mean, we looked at the guys that were throwing the best, and it's kind of how we lined them up. Tanaka had the start right before the end of the season was tremendous. His start in the playoffs was tremendous, so we led off with him. Sevy was not lined up to pitch on whatever day that was, Friday, so we threw him Saturday. CC is lined up to pitch today, so that's why we're throwing him.
To your left, Joe. Mark.
Joe, CC, for the first bunch of years he was here, was a guy who, if he didn't pitch 7-8 innings, he was upset with himself. Have you seen a change in his approach just in terms of being a little more acceptable about going out there and just going hard for 5 or 6 and turning it over to the pen than he was 5-6 years ago?
I think he understands what his role in is more understanding. He still doesn't like when I take him out. He still doesn't. But I think he's more understanding that, when we think about CC, it's about also being able to make the next start and the next start, where if you wear him down and if you overuse him, you could have some issues. So he understands, give us 5 or 6 good innings. Whatever you can give us, we'll take it. And if your pitch count is lower and you can give us 7, go do it. That's the sort of thing. But he's going to give us everything he's got.
Directly to your right, Joe.
Aside from just being back at home, what do you feel best about right now with your team?
I just think how we're competing. Again, we're down 0-2, but I like the way we're competing and how we're fighting and the experience that these guys have been able to take from the first 8 games in the playoffs where we've been behind, we've been down 0-2, we've had to fight. I love their heart.
To your right, Joe. Ian.
Yeah, hi, Joe. When you're putting a pitcher on the man who has 20 postseason starts to his name, how much of an advantage might that give you, particularly when the opposing pitcher doesn't have anything close to that experience?
Well, you hope that it gives you a lot, to be honest, just because you feel like the situation is not too big for him or he's not going to try to overthrow. I look at, the difference between Sevy, start 1, start 2, and start 3, was the first one he really tried to overthrow. He was too amped up. And you hope that, that bothers someone on the other side and they're wild and we get some free base runners and they make some mistakes. But I don't ever worry about the situation affecting CC. I never have. Whatever the game was, this is a big game pitcher. And it's not going to be a situation that keeps him from pitching well.
Meredith, to your right, Joe.
Joe, understanding that you've been facing some really tough pitchers, but do you worry at all when your offense as a whole is not scoring runs, that guys try to do too much? Have you seen it all, them getting away from their typical approaches?
Not so much, no. I haven't. I think we've tried to continue to grind out at bats. Verlander he threw all strikes. And it's, if a guy's doing that with the stuff that he's got, it's going to be a tough road. I mean, it really is. So, no, I have not had a problem. I like the way we're still grinding things out and the effort. And, hopefully tonight we can score some more runs.
In the 3rd row, Joe. Hunter.
To return to Sonny Gray, in starts that he's good versus start that he's not so good, what is the biggest difference for him, whether it's maybe command or versus certain lineups?
It's command and long counts. If he gets a long counts, a lot of times, that's when he gets in trouble.
To your left, John.
Joe, a lot of talk about Judge, but it seems like Sanchez may be chasing a little more, too. Do you think that's the way they're pitching him, or is he maybe just pressing because of trying to do too much in the postseason?
It's probably a little bit of both. I think they've pitched him extremely well, and, we have some young players. I mean, when you look at it, maybe the averages aren't where we want them, but they've had some big hits, they've had some home runs, they've driven in some runs, and you see mature players go through this. You do. When you face really good pitching, you're going to see a mature player go 2 for 20. You're going to see a superstar go 2 for 20. That's just part of being in the playoffs.
One last one for Joe. We'll finish up right here.
Since losing game 2, have you taken any time to offer a speech to the team in any way, whether it was just any time since that game and right now, maybe before the game tonight?
Again, I don't talk about like what I say to my players, and sometimes I have speeches, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'll do it individually. But I feel good about where these guys are at. I do, from a mental standpoint.
Thanks very much, Joe. Appreciate it. Carlos.
That's Joe Girardi as he met the media today as we get ready for this evening's game around 8 o'clock this evening. It's going to be a cool night at the stadium, so it's going to feel a little bit more like October baseball. Maybe that's an advantage for the Yankees, who have been so good at home this year. What's going to be a big advantage for the Yankees tonight is they're not going to see a Cy Young caliber pitcher. That's going to be a big positive. Not to knock the night's pitcher, but obviously he's not of the same level as they've seen the last 2 games. Verlander was unbelievable. At one point, he had 90 strikes and 29 balls. That is unbelievable. Tonight, the lineup: Gardner, Judge, Didi, Sanchez, Bird, Castro, Hicks, Frazier, Headley, with CeCe on the mound this evening. So no surprise there. What you would expect as we head towards first pitch this evening. We'll take you up until the pregame at 7:30.